Hello, today I would like to talk about why you are richer today than John D. Rockefeller was 100 years ago. And in case you don't know who John D. Rockefeller is, he used to be the richest man in the world. His wealth was even bigger than the equivalent of the wealth of Elon Musk today. And yes, I know this may sound unbelievable, but when we compare what is available to the everyday man today and what was available to John D. Rockefeller or the other millionaires of that era, the difference is huge. The average man today is richer than John D. Rockefeller was 100 years ago. Despite of great advancements in technology and living standards, many people say that they are worse off today than they were before. And this is because there is something called relative poverty. What is happening is that they continue comparing themselves to others. So if I compare myself with my neighbor who has a brand new car and a bigger house, then I feel poorer, okay? And the thing is that we just don't want to be happier and we don't want to just be rich. We want to be happier and richer than the guy next door. So whenever we see that the guy next door seems to be richer or happier, then somehow we become depressed or unhappy. We feel like we are doing enough. But in reality, if we compare ourselves, our everyday man today, with the every man of 10, 20, 50, 100 years ago, we are leaps and bounds richer than we have ever been before. So let me just mention a few things that make us richer today. There are things such as the internet. I remember, I'm 57 years old now, and I remember our time when if I wanted to find some information about anything at all, I would have to go to the library, borrow some books, look through the index and look through hundreds of catalogs to find the information that I wanted. Now I can just go to my computer, type a few keywords, and the information is right there in front of us. The other great advantage is the smartphone. The smartphone, this is an Android phone, which is not too expensive, costs about $200. With this device, I can call my mother in Colombia for practically nothing, or I can call anyone anywhere in the world for practically nothing. And I have access to the internet to this, so I have all the knowledge of the world in this device. John D. Rockefeller didn't have anything close to this, not anything close to the level of information and message delivery that we have today. And then if we go into medicine, modern medicine is just amazing. We have things like penicillin, and we have vaccines, and we have, I have problems with my knee, for example, and I can go to the doctor and say, doctor, I want a new knee, and a new knee made of I don't know what could replace my old knee. And this is just mind-blowing. And also air travel. In the times of John D. Rockefeller, people had to get into trains and boats. Now, every year, I go and visit my parents in Colombia. I just get into this tube that have two wings, and I can be in Colombia in 6 hours for what, 600 Canadian dollars. This is just amazing. This is crazy. And everyday utilities that we have today, like a refrigerator. Can you imagine? Everyone has a refrigerator. I don't care how low your income is, everyone has a refrigerator. At the times of John D. Rockefeller, if you didn't consume your milk and your eggs within a few days, they will go bad. But now we have frozen things. I use my refrigerator to get ice cubes to prepare my frozen margarita. This is just amazing. And the streaming services that we have, if I have a subscription to Netflix, I could watch practically every movie and every TV show there is for the miserable price of about 10 Canadian dollars. Actually, I am not sure, but it's low. I used to be a subscriber of Netflix at one time. 40 years ago, if I wanted to see a movie, I had to get out of my house, buy a ticket, and you know, all this and that. But now it's just available. And another amazing thing is Spotify. For nothing, because I use the free service for nothing, I can listen to every song in the world just by typing Spotify and the name of the song. And if I get the premium subscription, then I don't have to listen to advertisement every 15 or 20 minutes. So these are the things that are available to us today that were not even available 20, 30, 40 years ago. So this is crazy. Our level of wealth now is just incredible. But guess what? We continue comparing ourselves to the guy next door. And of course, if the guy next door has a Spotify and Netflix and all this and that, then we don't feel any richer. So one of the problems is, as I mentioned before, that we continue comparing ourselves with people who seem to have or that do have a lot more than we do. Okay, so I compare. It doesn't make sense for me to compare myself to Elon Musk, but obviously he has a lot more money than I do. And there are individuals who say, okay, so if we just take the money away from these billionaires and then we redistribute it among all the citizens of the world, everyone will be better off. And I don't think that's true. I'm going to tell you a story. I don't know if you know Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was one of the creators of U.S. Steel. And U.S. Steel was Andrew Carnegie was one of the richest men in the world, next to Henry Ford and John D. Rockefeller and all these people. But okay, so there was a reporter asking him, well, Mr. Carnegie, don't you feel bad that you are so wealthy when so many people in America are so poor, right? And then Mr. Carnegie, he made a fast calculation in his head. He calculated the amount of his wealth and he divided it by the population of the United States at that moment. And then he took a few bills from his pocket and told the reporter, well, if that's the case, here's your share. And he gave the reporter a few dollars. And that's what will happen if we take the wealth from Elon Musk or from Bill Gates and we redistribute it around the citizens of the world. We will get, I don't know, let's be optimistic. Let's say, I don't know, anything between $20 to $100. That would not change anyone's life. Okay, so that's not the solution. Now, this is another story. This is the Prime Minister of England, Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher was having a debate in the House of Commons. I think it was 1990. And the debate came like this.
There is no doubt that the Prime Minister has in many ways achieved substantial success in the economy. There is one statistic that I understand is not, however, challengeable, and that is that over her 11 years, the gap between the richest 10% and the poorest 10% in this country has widened substantially.
That's right.
How can she say at the end of her chapter of British politics that she can justify many people in a constituency such as mine being relatively much poorer off, much less well housed, and much less well provided than it was in 1979? Surely she accepts that is not a record that she or any Prime Minister can be proud of.
Mr. Speaker, all levels of income are better off than they were in 1979. But what the honourable member is saying is that he would rather the poor were poorer, provided the rich were less rich. That way you will never create the wealth for better social services as we have. And what a policy! Yes, he would rather have the poor poorer, provided the rich were less rich. That is...
They would rather the poor be poorer, provided that the rich will be less rich. So there are policies that in the search for reducing the income inequality, there are governments who are proposing reducing the wealth of a country in order provided that the rich will be less rich. And that doesn't make any sense. The things that make sense is continue expanding the economy and the well-being of everyone. I mean, when Steve Jobs created the iPhone, he revolutionized the industry of the smartphones, and now everyone in the world have access to one of these things. One of these things that cost as little as $100. So Steve Jobs made us all wealthy, gave us all this technology accessible to all of us for nothing. Okay, so this was a huge leap in society. Technical advances continue improving our life every day, and the solution is not to take from the poor to give, to take from the rich to give to the poor. The solution is continue increasing the pie. And yes, of course, there is always going to be people who are going to be richer than we are, and we are going to continue feeling this relative poverty, but the reality is that we are richer and richer every day. Now, there are people who may argue, and they have reason up to a certain point, that say that wealth doesn't make you happier, okay? And I agree. I think the thing that makes us happier overall is having this community, having friends and family who love you and who share with you and who share a common interest or a common idea together. And this is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the things that makes me happy, all right? But at the same time, wealth is also very important. There is a reason why millions of immigrants from many countries in the world, they are trying to go into the United States. Is because the wealth is there. You know, like I like the companionship of my family and friends, but I also love having a room all by myself. I like that, and I like going to a nice restaurant. I prefer going to a nice restaurant with my friends and family, but I rather go to a nice restaurant than a crappy restaurant. And there are all kinds of goods and services that, you know, you can only get them with wealth. I rather be able to afford good medicine than not to afford any medicine at all. Family, companionship, friendship is very important, but wealth is very important as well. Now, to close, this is my question to you. Would you rather live a normal life today, or would you rather be a billionaire 100 years ago? Please let me know in the comments, and until soon. Peace.